Welcome back, everyone. It's the Modern Sage Podcast, and I'm Leah Guy, your host. I just want to emphasize that this is an opportunity right now for all of us to take a little deeper inventory of where we've been and where we are blossoming into in our lives. There's often a desire for us to project into the future about things we want to do, who we want to become, things we want to let go of. And while we're working through the seasons and through the calendar year and through our own personal growth, those things are really important. And also, it's very important to be here right now. This time of year also is very important for us to take excellent care of our health, not just our physical health, but our mental health, our emotional health. I share, quite personally on this podcast, but I recently got the flu, and I was so grateful, so thankful for my medicine cabinet. And my medicine cabinet isn't filled with Tylenol and Mucinex and all those kinds of things. Not that there's anything wrong with those, but I have a very hefty medicine cabinet that is full of nutritious, life-promoting, and supportive herbs and homeopathy and various things that I take every day and when needed. And so when I got the flu this week, I was reminded of my gratitude for that, for our ability to have access to herbs, to supplements, to natural remedies. I just wrote a blog post about what I do every week, every day to keep my immune system as healthy as possible, because I do have autoimmune issues and my immune system struggles from time to time. I'm under a decent amount of stress, although I feel like I manage it pretty well. My body still talks to me, and we all are suspect to viruses, to bacteria, to things going around, whether you have children, whether you work in the world, you go to an office, or maybe just passing through a grocery store. There is no shame in getting a virus or bacteria and getting sick, but we need to know how to support our bodies well when we get those things, to help our bodies heal, to help our bodies restore, and to do it in the most natural ways possible. So I listed a few of the things. Some of them are very standard, like vitamin C, vitamin D, things that you can do every day to keep your immune system supported. I also take Chinese herbs. I want to mention today one thing that has helped me so much, and that is colloidal silver. I use a particular brand that I trust, and I wanted to share it with you today. It's Natural Path Silver Wings. And I trust them, one, because I've met the owners, I have interviewed and done my due diligence, I have researched the company, and I've tried other brands. And this company and their product is so superior. And it has helped me in multiple ways. With last week or 2 weeks ago, I got a cold sore. That should have been my first sign that my immune system was a little bit weaker than normal. So I started taking the colloidal silver. Within a day, the cold sore was gone. It was that quick. Anytime I start feeling a little bit of something, I start taking a little extra colloidal silver. Now, this supplement is safe. That's one of the reasons I love it. There's no side effects, and it really helps kill viruses, kill bacteria, support the body, boost the immune system. And so when I got the flu, I started taking their 500 parts per million. It's the strongest version of this. And I just want to report here that I had one day of fevers, chill, icky, headache, feeling disgusting. And the next day I felt like not a brand new person. I'm not going to go that far, but I felt completely better. And now I just have some congestion that's working its way out. And I attribute it to the colloidal silver, the vitamin C, my other routine that I have day to day. And so we have the power to support ourselves. And I want to empower you to remember that you can have an arsenal at the ready for you when you are feeling challenged, when your immune system feels a little bit weak, when you know you're going to be in environments where there's going to be a lot of people. Start giving your body the support so that you can move through it with more ease, with more grace, and with less suffering, because I think that's what all of us really want, is a little less suffering. So I'm really grateful for Natural Path Silver Wings. I just want to remark, for those who have never taken colloidal silver, or you have and you're not sure, if you're watching the video, you see this amber color, that's what you're looking for. A lot of them are clear or even like a blue tint. That's not high quality silver. That is the weakest strength of silver available. So even this brand's weakest strength is still an amber color because there are 50 parts per million in the product, and you can know and trust that you're getting what you're taking. And to be honest, I don't even take this full subscribed dose, but I dose frequently and it really just knocks it out. So I'm grateful for that. You can visit my blog post on my website, leahguy.com, if you want more information about that. And I just want to help support you in healing, especially with the fear and the, what we know is out there all the time. Viruses are natural. They've always been in our world. And I don't want us to be terrified of them and to be terrified of living our lives. So support yourself as best you can in those ways. All right. Now, also with our health, we have to attend to our mind and our spirit. For me, taking the natural supplements and supporting myself naturally helps my mind, helps my spirit, because I feel like I'm doing something nutritious and positive and utilizing the natural resources that this planet has to offer. There's also other ways to support our mind and our body. And one of those, as you know, is meditation, mindfulness and meditation. I talk about it a lot. I teach on Insight Timer. I teach individuals how to do this. And today I'm talking with a colleague who also is impassioned about meditation, so much so that she's changed her whole life to focus on bringing meditation to the mainstream. And her name is Dina Kaplan. She's the founder of thepath.com, where they actually train people to meditate and train people to teach meditation as well. If you're interested in that, we will talk about that in just a moment. But let me first introduce Dina and welcome her to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to chat with you and with your community about meditation and other ways that we can support ourselves and our mental health, which is important in addition to the physical health, as you mentioned, Leah.
Yes. So Dina, you have an interesting story because Dina has come from the corporate world. She was a CEO of a tech company. She's worked on MTV. She's worked at the White House. She's done a lot of amazing things in our world. She's a leader in the business world and also a leader in the meditation and mindfulness world. And I want to hear from you why you and how you walked away from what most people would consider really good jobs and found yourself in this position to start the path and teach other people about meditation.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for asking. I really appreciate the question. And I think you and probably many people who are listening right now can relate to my story. So yes, you're right. I had co-founded a tech startup. It was in the web video space, and I'd worked my way up through the company to end up being COO. So I was Chief Operating Officer. I was in this super visible role, and my life from the outside looked great. And, you might not have been in the exact same position that I was, but maybe you can relate to this idea that everyone looking at you from the outside thinks that you have it all, or at least you have a lot of things that people want. But the truth is that entire time I was held up as this role model, especially for women founders, but for founders and people in tech overall. And Leah, the truth is that the entire time I myself was playing a role, and that role was that everything was okay when it really wasn't. Because the truth is that I was a friggin' mess on the inside. And it was so bad that I started having panic attacks. And I don't know if you've faced this or anyone in your community or listening right now has, but it basically would feel, my God, I think I might be having one right now talking about it, but you would feel like, hopefully not. At least I'm sitting right now, but you feel like you have tingles going on in your head. And then for me, it was like they were shooting down my body and I felt like I was about to pass out or faint. And it was terrifying. I was in New York at the time, and in this very public role, I was in the press every day, speaking at conferences or events, literally 7 nights a week. And Leah, honestly, I did not have the confidence to walk across the street by myself at all. For 2 years, I was having panic attacks straight for 2 years, couldn't walk around New York on my own, couldn't take the subway because I lived in fear of passing out at an intersection or passing out in the subway, which is really horrifying to think about. And finally, this got to a breaking point. So I'm at Broome and Lafayette in Soho. Many people are probably familiar with that. I had to walk across the street to get to my office. I literally had to cross 2 intersections. It would have been maybe a 12 or 13 second walk. And I looked across the street and thought, I can't get there. I can't get there. I think I had a big interview with the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, something like that, meetings all day. and I didn't think I could cross the street. And in that moment, I actually tapped into my intuition, which is something that we can talk about. But somehow a voice came through me and it said, you've got to get out of here. You need to lead the opposite life in the opposite part of the world, and you've got to act right away. And in that moment, I made a huge decision, counter to everything I've been working on for 7 years of building this company and hoping for my huge exit. And I left it all behind, booked a one-way flight to Asia, and ended up spending 2.5 years traveling the world, leaving everything I had been building up for, leaving every single thing behind in the hope of getting healthy.
Yeah. It's an amazing story and a courageous one. And I know a lot of people can relate. We can relate in our own ways with different, scenarios and different versions of that. I want to share in relation to you that there was a particular time when I had so much emotional turmoil. Well, there's been various times throughout my life. And I think that can happen for people when we go through these, different layers of our healing and so forth. But there was a time that I couldn't drive on the highway. There was a time I wouldn't fly in an airplane. There was a time when I had so much emotional turmoil inside myself. And I was living in New York also. And I became petrified of the subway. I would not get on the subway from Jersey City or Hoboken to Manhattan. I could not, same as you, I couldn't envision actually getting there and being okay. And I remember that one time I had to go and I was chasing auditions and, TV shows and all this kind of stuff. And I wasn't feeling authentic. I wasn't feeling available. I wasn't feeling present. I had to call a friend of mine and say, can you please come with me and sit with me on the ferry to get me to New York? Because if you come with me and if we go on top of the water, I think I can do it. And that's what we did. And at that point, I went to the audition and I had a similar kind of, I'd already been in my healing work. I mean, doing my healing work as a job, but I was still kind of chasing this other thing, to prove something to myself. And I went to the audition, I walked out and I said, that I don't need that kind of validation anymore. I need to work more on what's happening within me so that I can actually help people transform their lives in a more powerful way. And so, yes, I can relate fully. And I know a lot of people can't. A lot of people, they may not change their entire life and then become a meditation or mindfulness teacher. But I think what's important here, and I want you to confirm this for me, from your personal experience, is that when we have these unresolved emotional traumas, wounds, insecurities, disharmony within ourselves, that no matter what's going on outside of us, no matter how much money we make, no matter how we look, it doesn't matter, because it's not our authentic harmony place, right?
1,000%. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm glad you made it to the audition, at least. And didn't stay on the boat going back and forth for a while.
I know.
I actually admire, honestly, thank you for sharing that. I admire the confidence that you had to ask a friend to come with you. And I actually haven't really shared this with people, but I couldn't even do that. I didn't tell my best friend. I didn't tell my parents, who I'm close with. I didn't tell a doctor. I really didn't tell anyone except for one person who I had a panic attack with. They happened to be with me when it happened, so I had to share it. So I just tried to navigate this all myself. And it's funny because I was running this company that in the end was a community. So I had a huge community around me, and I had the whole digital media community and the tech community, all these people around me, and no one that I felt confident enough to share that, hey, I'm in trouble right now. And I do think, especially coming out of the pandemic or whatever pandemic purgatory we're in right now, I think that that's something that people can relate to. Is there someone you can really, really, really be your authentic self with? And if not, like, you're not alone. That's something that many of us can relate to. And to your point, Leah, you absolutely nailed it. So you have a very high emotional intelligence, which none of your community will be surprised to hear me say. But you're absolutely right. The issue for me wasn't me not being good at my job. I actually was pretty good at my job. I kind of figured out it was a stressful job running a startup, but I kind of figured that out. What I didn't figure out was how to have the confidence to be myself. And that actually is what did me in. It was the cognitive dissonance between who I wanted to be, which is, I say girl, but woman, whatever. I call myself a girl with love and playfulness. So I'm a girl. And if I get upset, I might want to cry. I'm not saying all girls do. That's how I am. And at a startup, you have great days and you have great moments. And then you might have a terrible moment the next minute when you get bad news. A deal that you thought would come through didn't come through. So there were times, for example, that I would want to cry. And if I would start tearing up, one of my co-founders, all my co-founders were guys, of course, almost the entire company, of course, this is the tech world back in the day, would say, there's no crying at startups, kind of like there's no crying in baseball. And so what I learned to do over time was just to stuff down all of my natural inclinations. That meant stuffing down my emotions. If I were mad at someone and I would want to say, I feel really angry, that also wouldn't fly. The guys would just pound their fists on the table or slam a door if they were angry. That didn't feel authentic to me. But what did feel authentic didn't quite work. So in the end, I just suppressed all my natural instincts, my emotions, everything about my personality. And that was what caused the problem, I think. And that's when the panic attacks started. And so what I ended up doing was spending 2.5 years traveling the world. And in the end, ultimately, I was building up the confidence and the knowledge to learn how to be myself in the modern world. How can I be myself even independent of how someone responds to me? I got really into meditation and mindfulness, which we'll definitely talk about, but just to share a huge moment for me on that journey was talking to my best guy friend at the time, who was my mentor in the mindfulness world. He was much further away than I was at the time. And he said he had gotten to a point in his meditation practice and his understanding of mindfulness that he could like someone even if they didn't like him back. Yeah. And that rocked my world. I spent 2 years thinking about that, and then I got there, and I'm there. And so there are people who I like, who I know don't like me back, and that to me is freedom. Yeah. And I will share, I could talk obviously more about this, but I ended up getting over all of those health hurdles. I know I'll never have a panic attack again, but I also will say that I have cultivated and found freedom. So I find freedom in the sense that when someone responds to me, let's say negatively, it could be a barista, someone I order a sandwich that's in a bad mood, a friend, an acquaintance, someone I'm close with, and they come at me with a lot of negativity, I actually don't have to match it. I have freedom there, and I could just respond to them with kindness and love and care or anger if that's merited. And I love thinking about how can we act with more freedom? How can we have freedom in every moment? Mm-hmm. And so that's something that I'm really cultivating along with the meditation and mindfulness. And I love teaching that to people also.
Yeah, well, I do too. And I think we may use different styles and so forth, but people who have what I call the anchor within themselves, the place to return home to, yeah, and that place to find the settlement and the peace and the connection that we are looking for, that connection has to happen inside first. And meditation is a beautiful and relatively quick way to foster that connection, that relationship with yourself. So I love that. I talk also in terms of freedom a lot as well. And I think that that's a perfect word to explain what happens for a person who commits to finding this anchor or to showing up to themselves every day and building that relationship.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's non-obvious. I think before we start this training, you're very likely to match the energy that somebody brings to you. So for you and me, that's probably great. I'm not perfect at all, but I try to operate in the day with a bit of lightness and playfulness and positivity. And so people are usually really kind and positive back to me, but that's not always the case. And so the more we meditate, as you say, the more we can. I think one of the biggest benefits is that it gives you this pause. And in that pause that I've labeled the gap. So in that gap, that's where we can find our freedom, which is what I call the choice. Okay, how do I want to respond to this person? Whether they're coming at you with positivity or anger, frustration, whatever it is, what's your freedom? What's your choice in that moment of how you want to show up for them?
Yeah, that's beautiful. I recently taught on Insight Timer a a segment about the spiritual practice of doing nothing, which, you know, is another way and another practice, kind of an expounded practice on meditation. Because I'll admit, you know, there's days where I do sit for the 10 to 20 minutes once or twice a day, and there's days that I don't. But when I don't sit intentionally to create that pause in my day, I function in a very meditative way, in quiet, in stillness, in intentional awareness, and sitting and doing nothing, and listening. And it's that perpetual practice for me that deepens the meditation when I'm intentionally sitting, you know, and pausing, and also just helping me to flush out the noise, you know, on a regular basis, whether I'm on a train or on a plane or in front of hundreds of people or just with myself. You know, how can I practice that? So I think there's a lot of ways to meditate and to be mindful and intentional about it. With your teaching with the path, you all teach, is it a Buddhist meditation, I believe?
Yeah, so we do three primary things. Thank you for asking. We lead a meditation teacher training program, which is rooted in Theravada Buddhism. This is the style of Buddhism and meditation that the Buddha himself practiced and then taught and shared, ended up being around the world, of course. And the training, by the way, is not just for people that want to hang out a shingle and become a meditation teacher. We have people join it who are coaches and therapists, yoga teachers, investment bankers, other founders like my former world, and everything you can imagine in between. We have parents that take the program just because they want to teach meditation to their baby or to their child. We have people that take it because they want to teach it just in their communities on the side. Or we had a big founder and CEO of a big brand that we would all know who took it actually not to lead his team in meditation, but because he's in a men's group and wanted to share it with the other men in the group, or just because people want to be in a kind, supportive, wonderful community. It's taught live, so it's online. So we have people join around the world, but it's a live class. And the people are so great. It's called a Sangha in the Buddhist world. It's a community, and we're very, the path and just my personality, as you can probably tell, is very community focused. So we put people in a small class size with people who are really trying to be their best self. And so it's really fun and inspiring just to be in this community for the 3 months of the program. So yeah, that's our teacher training program. And we just launched, i.e. in the last 7 days, launched this course that I'm really excited to share with you. You're the first person I've shared this with at all. It's called 30 Days to Meditator. And this is to teach people how to meditate on their own so that you don't need an app. You don't need any guide at all. You never need to turn on your phone or find a guided meditation. I find it ironic that some people would have to wake up in the morning if they want to meditate in the morning, and they'll have to turn on a website or technology in order to meditate. So for 8 years, I've dreamed of creating this course, and we spent about 8 months working on it, and I absolutely love it. So it's called 30 Days to Meditator. It's just at thepath.com/30 days. And literally in 30 days, we'll teach you to meditate on your own with a whole variety of different practices for the rest of your life so that you'll never need a guide again. But then in relation to what we've been talking about, which has been so delightful, I also give people a number of positive psychology tools. I call them awareness exercises to teach people just how to be more aware. It's very easy. Don't worry if you do this, you're not the only one, but it's very easy to go through the day really kind of, I don't want to say obsessing, but thinking a lot about all the thoughts swirling around in your mind. And that is one way to go through life. But I actually think it's a lot more fun, liberating, playful, find your right adverb, to think about all the other people, like all these other, I call them dots of consciousness. Let's say you're walking down a street, all these people passing you are not just sort of figures in the painting of your life, the live motion painting of your life, but these are actually people with hopes and dreams and fears and good days and bad days. So when I walk around, I try to think about, well, what's on everyone's minds? And even like in a small way, like how can I help to bring them some joy or make their day a little bit better? So I'll often smile at someone for no reason. And people, especially in New York, if I do this, they'll do double takes like, oh my God, someone's actually smiling
Right.
at me. What's happening? So I don't actually, that's not one of them, I don't think, in the course, but ways to make you more aware of the people around you. And
Yeah.
in the end, it's how to live with more joy and delight and ease in your everyday life.
Yeah. Well, I think your work is beautiful, what you're doing, and I'm appreciative of it. I recently, for myself, and as I said at the start of this podcast, I believe right now, energetically, this is a very supportive time for people to take forward momentum and to have the support to do that in our lives, to not just keep working on the same problems and issues and traumas and behaviors that we've had in our past, but to actually move beyond those things in a healthy, holistic way. And starting last fall, I took a new training program professionally, and it was a big reach for me, not in the sense of something I've never done before, but just, cost and time commitment and really showing up to it. And in doing so, I recognize one, how hungry I've been and how beautiful it is to be in a community of like-minded people. And I know that online through COVID, we're all zoomed out perhaps, but there's also another amazing things happened, which is the access to people that you would never ever know before, and to have these like-minded communities focused on different things. And so I've really enjoyed the program that I've been doing so much, and I've been enjoying learning again for myself. And you can probably relate, and I know a lot of people can relate, when we are the teacher or the self-employed person or the person who does it all the time, we're stuck in doing mode, fixing mode, leadership mode. And it's really important to step back and become a student again, however you can, and it's been very helpful to me. It's been so nurturing for me to be a student again, and to not have to put on the leadership hat, not have to put on the healer hat or the author hat or the podcaster hat, but just to show up and learn. In fact, with your program, I've considered taking the meditation teacher training, not because, I've been teaching meditation for 15 years, but I'd love to have a community and also, infuse my work with other tools. And I think that that's what we all offer one another is, how can we continue nurturing and adding to our personal development, the collective consciousness, the conversations that are happening, and just support one another in doing so. So I thank you for offering that.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, look, we just graduated a very good friend of mine who literally leads retreats all around the world. She leads the retreats. I think it's for the Four Seasons and the Seychelles and other places around the world. And she's been teaching meditation even longer than you have. I think it's 30 years, maybe 40 years. And she just took the class and absolutely loved it. And part of it is being in a sangha. We are, in fact, the Buddha would say, a little bit of Buddhist lessons here, why not? But he talked about something called the three jewels, one of which was him, but it doesn't have to be the Buddha. It could be any teacher. It could be Leah, since you're listening to this beautiful podcast. It could be me. It could be any teacher. It could be a parent, anyone that you learn from. It could be your child. So the teacher, the Dharma, which is the wisdom. And the third, equally important, and actually the Buddha would say it's the most important, is the Sangha. Mm-hmm. So we have people literally that take the teacher training only to be in a fun, supportive community of people who are all trying to become better versions of themselves. So I absolutely love what you just said there. We have people literally that come in at all levels, even very, very, very experienced meditation teachers and people who've been meditating their entire lives. So I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think this idea of learning is very important. There's this word in the spiritual community called surrender that might be inspiring or horrific and new age sounding to you, whatever it is, I accept it. But I think about Sharon Salzberg as a very famous teacher of mindfulness and compassion meditation, worldwide known, best-selling author. She goes on retreat too, of course, because
she's human.
And we're all lifelong learners for sure. I think the only person that did not was the Buddha himself. I go on retreats. I actually just sat a 7-day retreat in India that wasn't even on Buddhism, which is what I teach in my primary practice, but it was on Hindu wisdom in the Bhagavad Gita, and I absolutely loved it. I think there's something wonderful about being in a state of continual learning. And I do want to share, to your point about Sangha and being together in community, that I realized I didn't say the third main thing that we do, which is that we host retreats, and they are friggin' amazing. And we actually have our Mela Retreat, which is our once a year, it's like the big thing that we do. So it's a once a year curated retreat. It's incredible. And you are really coming together with people who are vetted for kindness. And so people come on this and they do all sorts of business connections and partnerships, but people literally meet their best friend, like the person that they will spend their birthday with, or the other family that they'll spend Thanksgiving with or go travel with in the summertime. And so I do want to invite people in your community to join us. It's just thepath.com/Mela, MELA, apply, or we can link to it in the podcast. Yeah. And it is literally life-changing for everyone who comes. I have actually a friend of mine who I dragged kicking and screaming to this. He's like, I don't like a group events. I never go to anything. I just meditate on my own, not every day, but I meditate on my own. I'm not going to like it. He went, and I'm going to try to tell you this without crying, although I may not succeed. He's a big guy in finance. And a couple of days later, he called me and he said, Dina, oh my God, I'm literally gonna cry. He said, like, I never thought that I would find other people like me, but at Mela, I found my people. Like, I found that there are other people that I can be friends with and who I can relate to. And is really profound. And I think a lot of people feel that way. So I'd love to invite people in your community to apply and join us, and then we can all be in Sangha in person too.
Yeah, it's so important. I appreciate you sharing that. And I know retreats, but again, I'm usually the one leading retreats, so I am often drawn and looking for, we all need that nurturing. We all need it to flow both directions, whether you want to think of yourself as a lifelong student or learner, or just a human being who needs the reciprocation of attention and time and rest and restoration, and to form a family, is really beautiful.
1,000%. I mean, on the retreat that I just did in India, most of the people there was one other person who was a meditator. He had just started meditating a few months ago. I think no one else even meditated. So I literally joined this retreat, and at the beginning I almost stepped out because, I mean, I say this with humility and laughter. I figured out that I probably knew more than the people leading the retreat. They were making some mistakes in the bio about the Buddha, talking about the impact of his mother on him. And I'm like, I think his mom died when he was 9 days old. But anyway, I sat the retreat. I stayed. It was in silence. It was in India, so it was not super fancy. And I learned so much. And honestly, I benefited from the community and that Sangha so much. And I made lifelong friends. So I do love this idea of staying humble, which is exactly what you were saying. We can always learn. We can learn from such unexpected people. That's what I actually think the Buddha meant when he talked about that first jewel of being the Buddha or the teacher. Anyone could be a teacher. A parent who's angry can be a teacher, because that can teach you, how do I respond to anger when I'm triggered? How am I when I'm triggered? And let me learn from that. So you find teachers in these unexpected places, even on a silent Hindu retreat in Dharamsala, from people who've never meditated before. They were also my teachers. And I was so proud of myself for going to that, and also for staying with it, even despite, even with this huge range of meditation experience from the other people that were sitting on retreat.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I want to address here something I think is important for people in their spiritual journey, wherever they've come from with their religious upbringing, their belief system, where their heart is. And some people don't know spiritually really where they fall and who or what they bow to, if you will, or worship. And I want to be clear for people that this kind of meditation, even though it comes with a Buddhist background, philosophy, and training, doesn't mean you have to become a Buddhist or be a Buddhist to participate.
No.
There's wisdom here for everyone, right?
1,000%. And I'm actually so glad you brought this up. We just launched 2 teacher training courses, which is really exciting. And I had a friend that just joined us. They launched 2 weeks ago, and she called me in a panic. Her class started on a Monday, and she called me on Saturday. I need to talk to you immediately, Dina. So I called her right back, and she said, I have a very strong religious background, and I want to stay with it. I love it. Am I okay taking this course? I didn't realize it was Buddhist. And I smiled a big, big smile. And I said, all the more so, you will absolutely love it. I think of Buddhism as really just a philosophy. It's a way to live life. And also, you're just studying it. You don't need to practice it for the rest of your life. Just like I sat on a Hindu retreat, even though I'm not teaching Hindu, I just wanted to learn about it.
Right.
But it turns out I actually thought she was Catholic, because the other panicked call I got a few months ago from someone joining a course that was starting at the time was very Catholic. And it turned out midway through the call that she's Orthodox Jewish, literally Orthodox. But she's now 2 weeks into it, and she called me almost in tears actually a few days ago and said, I love this course so much. It's perfect to take this because it dovetails so perfectly with the Old Testament, with everything that I've studied about Judaism. And it's only reinforced my own beliefs, but made me even more passionate about living with ethics, which is part of the Buddhist path, but also, of course, part of these other religions as well. So I think it's beautiful to take a training like this and to study this spirituality and this path, whether you are from a Muslim background or Jewish or Christian or nothing or anything at all. And even at any level, whether you're devout Orthodox as she is, or
Right.
devout Catholic as that other student was, whatever it is. I mean, look, spirituality, it's in the air. Like, it's
Yeah.
there. We're spiritual
It's
creatures and
constant. Yeah.
beings, animals, however you want to describe as beings, maybe is the way. And so to learn more about how to navigate our lives with more delight, more joy, more ease, more kindness, more happiness, that is a friggin' gift. And by the way, it's a gift not just to yourself, it's really a gift for everyone in your life, whether it's your spouse, a parent, a child, or even the person you might get an ice cream from
Yeah, that's
later in
true.
the afternoon, because you're just learning how to navigate and move through life with more ease.
Yes. Well, I appreciate you saying that. And for those who are listening who are brand new to meditation, I just want to be clear that all meditation is not Buddhist meditation. The type that Dina teaches with the path does have a base in Buddhism, but there's all kinds of meditation, and none of them are wrong, and none of them, nor yours, have anything to offer that would tear down or break apart any of your religious or spiritual beliefs. So but I do know people from very traditional, religious backgrounds or conservative religious backgrounds. They avoid meditation because they think it's somehow against prayer or against their religion. And I think it's a real shame because even in the Bible or in almost every, well, I want to say in every spiritual teaching, but I don't have that 100% confirmed. But there's an inclination towards meditation, an encouragement towards meditation of any sort. And so here we're just meeting together to sit together and to be witness to, and to, as you said, learn how to cultivate the kindness and the presence and the awareness within ourselves so that we can share with the world. It doesn't have anything against or to tear down any other belief structure at all.
No, I think thank you for pointing that out. It's very beautiful to phrase it in that way. There is something sacred, well, not with a capital S, small s. There's something sacred about the fact that you've been born.
Mm-hmm.
You, wherever in the world you are listening to this or watching this right now, there's some reason that you exist. And so learning more about the sacredness of your life and learning how to live in a lighter way, with more joy, with more ease, with more delight, is something that you can do that is not religious at all. You can keep whatever belief you have and still learn how to live with a bit more lightness, with letting anger go, with just bringing to the world a more joyous version of yourself that will live and coexist beautifully with whatever religious background you have and want to continue with, or if you don't have one, also if you choose not to be religious. So yeah, it's just really a way of being. And part of it I'll actually share, I believe, is a way to say that I am powerful. I don't have full agency. We can't redesign all the streets and recreate your family and 100% shift your friend group in 1 second. But you have a lot more power over how your day is going to go, which is ultimately how your life is going to go, than you might realize, especially today. And so I think of this Buddhist path or this mindfulness or meditation path as a way, even in the modern world. I'm reading the news. I'm aware of all the difficult and good and in between things that are happening in our world. But we do have power. We have agency. We can respond to people with kindness for absolutely no reason. We can choose to let a gazillion things a day go that we might not normally let go. Like, we can basically rewire our minds to live in a more powerful way and in a more free way. And I think it's a wonderful way to live. I like this idea of feeling that we have some power and some agency over our lives.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Beautiful. Well, I'm going to put you on the spot just for a moment. 1 minute. Why don't you lead us right now in a 1 minute meditation?
Yeah, let's do that,
Okay,
right?
so
Oh
if
my.
you're driving and listening to this, then keep your eyes open, but you can still meditate while your eyes are open. It's okay. And we're going to close our eyes if you're not driving or doing something dangerous. And Dina, take it away.
All right. So wherever you are, I'll actually leave that choice to you. You can leave your eyes open, and if you're not driving, you can just have a soft gaze, looking a foot or two or three or meter ahead of you. Or if you prefer, you can close your eyes. I'll invite you, if you're sitting, to sit a little bit straighter than usual with your back straight, and think about the top of your head as facing evenly up to the sky or to the ceiling. And I just wrote an article about how easy it is to think of my life being happy and perfect or great when I get X, whatever that X is, a bigger apartment or house. If you're single, finding your spouse, or having more friends, or a new job, whatever that is, writing a best-selling book. One way to get away from that, because that never ends, wanting more, is by thinking of what you're grateful for in this moment. So let's take a moment to be grateful for being alive. And as you do this, you can realize that our bodies have sensations. So perhaps you can feel sensations in your knees, in your calves, in your feet, your hands, in your face, and just notice those sensations. And as you notice them, whether they're positive, like a tingling or flowing and effervescence, or negative in any way, we can actually still bring gratitude to them. I'm grateful for my body. I'm grateful for the chance to live a life. I'm grateful to be alive. And I'm grateful to be me. And then I invite you to find the breath wherever you naturally find it. It might be at the nostrils, might be in your diaphragm, or you can find it in your stomach. You can even place your hand on your stomach and notice as your hand moves away from you with the sip of an inhale and moves towards you as you slowly let out an exhale. And now, whether you're sitting inside or outside, you can be grateful for your environment. If you're inside, I'm grateful to have these four walls around me and heat or air conditioning if you have that. I'm grateful to be safe. And if you're outside, you can be grateful to be outside, whether you're on a city street or in a park or a rural environment or wherever you are. I am grateful to be here right now. And now I invite you to think of one person in your life or from your past to be grateful for. It could be a parent, a child, a teacher, a mentor, a friend. It could be someone you got a coffee or tea from this morning. Just one person to whom you can say in your mind's eye, so not out loud, but just in your mind, I am grateful for you. Now we can bring it all together. So feel the body sensations, whatever you feel, in the fingers, top of the head, anywhere at all. Find the breath and really experience the flow of a breath wherever you find that. Think of your person that you're grateful for. And let's just sit in this feeling of gratitude for a moment. I am grateful. I am grateful. I am grateful to be alive. I am grateful to be safe and free of danger in this moment. I am grateful to be me experiencing all of this. I'm grateful to be me experiencing the body, the breath, gratitude for this person in my life, gratitude for my environment. I am happy to be me in this moment. And with that, I invite you to stretch your arms up or out if that feels good. I invite you to stretch your legs out if that feels good to you as well. And if your eyes have been closed, I invite you to open them. And if they've been partially open, I invite you to blink a couple times and come back to the room wherever you are. Thank you for the chance to lead that.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Very helpful. Well, Dina, I am so happy to have you on the show and to meet you. And thank you for the work that you are offering. We will have everything in the show notes and on the screen. So if anyone is interested in deepening their meditation practice, curious about starting meditation practice, or maybe just going and reading Dina's story to see the power of how mindfulness and making authentic personal choices can change your whole life. If you're in one of those places in your life, then please check that out as well. So I really appreciate your time, Dina. Thank you.
Thank you. I loved it. I love talking with your community, and thank you for the kindness and the sangha of being together in this moment. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And to everyone listening, I will see you next week on the Modern Sage podcast.